Welcome to TMP, the Mavs Pod. My name is Bo. You can find me on Twitter X at Mavs Highlights. Today, our stream is going to take on a little different tone. We've got some very serious things to kick off the stream with, and the first thing is that Derek Lively's mom, Kathy Drysdale, passed away in the last day or so, maybe yesterday. And Derek is 20 years old. His mom just passed away. I think his dad passed away when he was 12. And this has got a lot of us thinking, right? A lot of Mavs fans thinking, like, what can we do to cheer him up as this fan base, as the people who want to root him on, who want to see him back healthy and dominating defensively and throwing down vicious alley-oops from Luka and Kyrie. But we realize that there are much more important things at stake in that young man's mind and his heart and his life right now. And certainly all our thoughts, and if you're a praying person, all our prayers go out to him to support him and lift him up. There's been quite a dialogue on Mavs Twitter X recently as we think and process through our own grief and our own suffering. And when someone loses a loved one in what feels like far too early in life, or tragically loses a loved one, it gets us reflecting on what we've gone through, on the suffering that we've faced, on the hardships that we've had to journey through. And I've seen my fair share of suffering and hard times, like I'm sure you have. But it got me thinking, man, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know the kind of choices I would have made if by the age of 20 I didn't have my mom or dad. Now I'm in my 40s and both my mom and dad are still healthy, but I have no idea what I would have done if my mom passed when I was 20. I wasn't married at 20, didn't have big responsibilities at 20 like Derek Lively does, didn't have a big job, was just plowing through school. But I know that like a thread would have been pulled in the sweater of my life, right? And I'm afraid I would have just unraveled. And so we are hoping for better for Derek Lively. Something incredible about us as human beings is that we can overcome incredible tragedy and suffering and loss. And it's not that we're ever the same. Those wounds and those moments leave a terrible scar. But we can endure, and we can, in time, heal and overcome. And so just thinking about DLive, I won't talk about this a lot on the stream or talk about it much on X, but in my professional life, the Mavericks are my hobby and my passion and my pastime, right? And so I kind of separate that from my regular life, my everyday life, the stresses and strains of my personal life and my professional life. But just to crack the door open for a second, I have been working with people and in churches for about 25 years. And for the past 15 years, I have gotten to be a lead pastor in churches. And so that means I've had the privilege of standing next to people in some of the most difficult moments of their life, some of the most painful moments, the most difficult seasons. I've stood next to mothers as the children passed. I've stood next to loved ones as they had to pull life support on a brain dead family member. I've been there in really, really difficult seasons, and I've led more funerals than I even care to count. And so it got me kind of processing through, what do we do in times of difficulty? What bit of counsel or encouragement for the friends of those who are going? Because even if you are never going to meet Derek Lively, you will have friends that lose loved ones. You will have friends who lose jobs. You will have friends whose marriages and relationships fall apart, right? And so what is the best bit of advice we can give, right? Sometimes out of our best intentions, we're just full of advice. We're just so full of good advice and good counsel, or this worked for me, maybe it'll work for you, that kind of thing. And as I was processing through how devastated how heartbroken I would have been at 20 years old to lose my mom. I would be broken and devastated right now. I think at any age you are to lose your mom. But at 20, my gosh, my mom is in her 70s now. That's how old I am. My mom's in her 70s and still healthy, and she's an angel. And if she was to pass suddenly now, I would be devastated. And so sometimes we battle with what would we do for that friend, or how should we counsel, or what words of encouragement, and I'm reminded of a story my friend told me of a real life situation he went through. He went through this extended season where terrible thing after terrible thing after terrible thing happened to him. And this is all real. This is a true story. I'm not going to go into the details. And he had all of these well-intended friends who would come to him, who would encourage him. Some would offer him, scripture verses, or some would offer him encouraging words, or, some would want to pray with him. And he said all of them meant well. Every single one of them meant well, Bo. But none of them really understood what I was going through. And he said, I had one friend of all my well-intended friends who came and sat with me and didn't say anything. He just sat with me in my sadness and in my grief. And he said he didn't say anything for the longest time. I thought, oh, this is different. This is different. And then after a long while of just sitting in silence with his hurting friend, he looked over to my friend and said, man, this really sucks. And my friend told me, he said, that meant more to me than all of the encouraging words and all of the you'll make it through in time and all of the well-intended good advice. Just my friend coming and sitting with me in silence, in my pain and in my hurt, and then just looking at me and acknowledging that what I was going through was not fair, was no good, and certainly no fun. He didn't tell me it'd all be okay. He didn't tell me that everything was there's going to a sunshine through the clouds any moment, or a rainbow was going to pop out of the clouds, or anything like that. He just acknowledged that what he was going through was bad. And that helped him so much. Often, when a loved one or a friend is hurting, the best thing you can do is just be present. I've heard some people call that the ministry of presence. And you don't have to be a person of faith to do this. You can just sit next to the person that you love. Just be there. Just be present. Don't fall for the temptation of giving a lot of advice or counsel, or to think you've got the magic words that are going to cheer them up. Just be with them. Often people don't need a preacher. They need a friend. I just want to give props to Mark Followell on the broadcast yesterday for the Mavs game versus the Pistons. I just want to shout Mark out. I don't know Mark. We've engaged several times on Twitter X throughout the years. I've been following his career since he was a ticket ticker guy for 1310 The Ticket. For some of you don't even know what that is. It's a very popular sports radio station in Dallas. So Mark's a little older than me, and I've been familiar with his dulcet tones for years and years. And I just thought he handled that moment, honoring Kathy Drysdale and honoring the suffering of Derek Lively while praising Kathy and praising Derek in just a beautiful way. I would have expected no less, but he did not disappoint. And so props to you. You'll probably never see this, but props to you, Mark Followell, for the integrity you showed in that moment and the sensitivity and wisdom you showed in that moment. So just congratulations for handling that sensitive moment with incredible aplomb and integrity. And also, I would like to shout out, I don't know if everyone knows this person or not. If you're a Mavs fan on YouTube, you probably do follow this person already, but his following on Twitter is just exploding and growing now. But if you've processed through what it's like when you see loved ones hurting and in pain, I would encourage you, go check out TGK's, the Garcia Kids, TGK's pregame stream from before, that's what pregame means, from yesterday for the Mavs and Pistons game, where he had just found out about DLive's mom's passing. And man, I was going to call it a therapy session, but it's not a therapy session. It was way too personal to be a therapy session. It was much more like friends sharing grief and talking about their own stories of suffering and what they've learned and what they've gone through. And so I would highly recommend that you go onto YouTube and search out TGK's stream from yesterday, from Friday, today's Saturday, from Friday before the game, and just let that encourage you or let it wash over you. TGK was incredibly transparent about some of the things that he has gone through and the loss and suffering that he has faced, and how it really clearly let him have a kinship with what DLive is going through. He lost loved ones and parents even younger than DLive did, and he just shared that. And man, it was just a really beautiful example of what people can be for each other. And so I would encourage you to go check that stream out as soon as we're done here. But definitely, toss up a few prayers for DLive and all of his family and loved ones, and rest in peace, Miss Kathy. I want to go over just quickly one thing from the game yesterday, because really, if the Mavs don't care, I don't care, right? And they clearly don't care. They're going to rest their stars, and I am fine with that over these last couple games. These last couple games, which mean a lot for the very top seeds, right? As Denver choked, as the MVP choked away a game against the San Antonio Spurs. The Denver Nuggets lost to the Spurs yesterday as Wembanyama went into alien mode and just absolutely most likely snatched first seed away from the Denver Nuggets, which I love because I hate playing in Denver. Man, playing in Denver is like playing in Utah. That high altitude, man, it just has incredible impact on you, right? If you're not accustomed to it, if you're not like climatized to that high altitude like all the players are, because they live there, they play there, they practice there, man, it is an incredible, I would almost say unfair advantage to go to Denver and to have to breathe in that thin air. You're just not used to it. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to host playoff games there, but like, it is an absolute advantage for the Nuggets. And it'll be a huge advantage for the Jazz when they're good too. You play at altitude, and it just makes a difference if you're not used to it. So listen, there's only one real thing from yesterday's game that I want to point out. And if you follow me on Twitter X, you already know who it is. I want to talk about OMax. OMax, who, let me just say, other than the people that followed him and loved him at Marquette, I have been on the OMax train since day one. Since he was drafted, I was so excited that they drafted him because he's just a measurables monster, right? He has this incredible length. He's so long. He's so versatile. He has position flex probably from 2 through 4. I think as he grows, as they add more strength on him, he might even be able to be a small ball 5. Heck, if PJ Washington can be a small ball 5, then OMax could definitely be a small ball 5 in those kind of lineups in the future. But I just love this kid. I love his motor. I love his energy. I love his enthusiasm. I love his coachability. And of course, the measurables to go along with all that. Just, it's unlikely that he will reach his ceiling, right? It's unlikely that anyone ever reaches their true potential, their highest potential. But professional athletes are the most likely, right? Because they are so hyper focused on reaching their potential that I believe that OMax is the type of player. If you wanted me to mention the type of player I don't think will reach their potential, to just pick someone on the Mavs, I would say like more like Hardy maybe. I think he doesn't have the same ceiling as OMax, right? But I think that OMax will, or is likelier than most to reach his ceiling, his top end potential. And by the way, I think his top end potential is something like, could I say it? Is something like Pascal Siakam. I think he is in the mold. He is a Pascal Siakam starter kit. I don't expect him to ever be as great as Pascal Siakam, but he just reads that way. He just looks that way. Pascal came into the league pretty raw. He took some time to develop. OMax is a diamond in the rough, and the rough is rough. And you've seen him, if you've watched him in Summer League, you watched him in his few NBA minutes, and then if you've watched some of his highlights for the Texas Legends, he's a diamond in the rough. But he has been performing very well with the Legends, and that doesn't always indicate, because for example, if you sent AJ or Hardy to the Legends, they would explode that league up, right? They're too good for that league. But what I've been impressed with with OMax, because I have been following his stats with the Texas Legends, is his three-point shooting. He's shooting, I think the Legends tweeted me, it is 42% from three in his time with the Legends. 42%, and he's getting them up. Like they're getting those shots up. If you've watched G League, they get the shots up. So a lot of what happens in the G League, it's hard to know if it'll translate. But three-point shooting translates, guys. And he has been shooting the rock very well, like way better than a lot of us thought he would be. A lot better than I thought he would be in this first season, right? I thought he was going to be maybe a 2-year project, and maybe he's going to come into his sophomore season with a significant role on the Mavs. Like, for example, I hope this doesn't happen. I hope we're able to keep Derrick Jones Jr. But Derrick Jones is free after this year. If he walks, if someone offers Derrick Jones Jr. a bag that we're not going to match, I could see OMax slotting into that position. I hope we don't lose him. I would love to have both of them, right? But I could see that happening. And I bet Nico is, as he's playing chess, right? The rest of us are playing checkers. As he's playing chess, I wouldn't be shocked if Nico Harrison is thinking along those lines. Like I tweeted out today, my fear is that OMax is going to be the price we have to pay to bring someone else in, maybe in the off season, to be that third star, or to supplement something to improve the roster somehow. Because if you're a GM and you're trading with the Mavs, and your first ask isn't your first reasonable ask, anyways. They're not trading DLive. They're not trading, the stars. But if your first ask isn't OMax, you're just not paying attention. And GMs are paying attention, guys. Yesterday's game, in 29 minutes, awesome to see him get so much playing time. 16 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, a block, 6 for 12 from the field. I think 3 dunks, 2 for 4 from 3. Hit both of his free throws. I believe in this kid. Don't listen to the other accounts. This is one of the few times where you'll see me kind of pound my chest, right? People on Twitter, X, all they do is talk about themselves and all their right predictions, and they don't mention how wrong they were and all their bad predictions. I try to be fair and mention when I was wrong, but I was so early on OMax. On draft night, I was like, yes! And I believed him in Summer League. I admitted very early on that he's very much still a project, but I love the potential, and we're seeing his hard work pay off. And so, man, I'm just excited to see what can become of OMax. I'm not even sure he's going to play in the playoffs, right? Because they tightened the lineup. They tightened the those who are playing in the lineups in the playoffs pretty tight. But I would love to see. I would love to see OMax getting some time. All right, so back to the first topic of the day. I asked you guys, hey, what would you say to someone who's hurting? What would you say to a friend that is that's going through a hard time? And let's go ahead and get into that, because you guys have great insight as well. All right, so let's see what you guys said. All right, KG, what's up? KG Veteran, long time online friend of mine, KG Veteran. What's this? What's happening with this? Oh, that's the mic. There we go. I'll just move that back out of the way there. So KG just says, just be there. Don't try to figure out the right words to say. Hey, that's exactly what I said, KG. Awesome. Totally agree with that advice. Just be there. Road to 50 and 32. Do something that was on their loved one's bucket list. Oh, man, that's next level friendship right there. I love that. That's great advice. Man, what a considerate and loving thing to do. Do something that would have meant the world to that loved one. Yeah, that's really beautiful. TX Burner says, give yourself the time you need. So if you're the one who's suffering, give yourself the time you need to heal. And it's not linear, right? Yeah, it's not just all upward progression, right? For sure. Friends, coworkers, etc. may eventually forget or move on, even if you can't. Eventually, with time, you will remember more of the good than the bad. Whoo! Speaking from experience, I can tell there, Werner. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because everyone who even has good intentions and loves you, they do eventually move on. Their lives go on, right? Your loved one who passed on isn't their loved one who passed on. They may love you and they're hurting with you and they're loving you, but they go on and you sit there in the pain and you sit there as the wound heals a lot slower for you than it does for them. So that's some really good advice, Berner. I really appreciate that. Zach says, if you have a friend that's suffering, give them space while also being available if they need you. Great. Boy, guys, this is some good advice. This is some good advice. You're gonna save some people some expensive therapy bills just if they would take this advice. Good stuff, Zach. Absolutely. Give them the space when they need it, but also be available for them when they need it. Yeah, and make sure that that's clear to them. Right? Make sure that that's clear to them, because you don't want to just ghost them thinking they don't want anyone to be around, because what they might desperately need is for you, of all people in the universe, for you to be around. They might, everyone in life, I believe, has that one person, and you're that one person for somebody that when they're hurting, you know who they need? They need you. So that's great advice. Give them the space they need, but then also be available for them when they need. That's great. Meredith, what do you say? Don't ask what you can do. Just show up. Yeah, don't badger them for sure, right? What can I do? What can I do? Don't you be the needy one. They're the one hurting. Exactly. Don't ask what you can do. Just show up. Take them food or groceries. Stop by and just sit with them and bring up the person they've lost. Don't avoid it. That's great. Don't act like it didn't happen. Oh, it's just a beautiful day, isn't it? Yeah, don't live in la la land. Be honest with the person who's hurting. Acknowledge what they're going through. They want to remember them and they want to talk about them. Yeah, absolutely. You need to be sensitive to that. But remembering the good times, right? Remembering the wonderful memories. When I've sat with people who are hurting, often it's, tell me what kind of thing made them laugh. Who was their favorite band? What was their favorite movie? What was their favorite ice cream? Tell me your favorite memory with them. Things like that are so healing or comforting to someone who is grieving, because they're sitting there in the loss of all that pain. That dark cloud is so thick over them that if you can be there and help them to remember the bright moments, that is a beautiful way to love somebody. So, man, guys, just incredible advice. And then Cautious Mavs fan says, very solid. Just showing up means the most. It really does help. Man, you guys, thank y'all so much for sharing these words of wisdom. These are like little nuggets. These are like little jewels for people that will bless people. If we will just remember this advice when we have a friend or a loved one who's hurting. And man, if our friends can hear this when we're hurting, man, that would be so, so valuable. Once again, prayers and well wishes to DLive and his family. And you guys have a good one. Go Mavs.